Welcome to DC to B Revolution, helping chiropractic students think big in order to live large. I'm your host, Noah Volz, and today I'm here with Dr. Brandon Steele. He's a chiropractor at Premier Rehab in the greater St. Louis area, and he's co-founder of KiroUp. He has a focus on clinical excellence and evidence-based treatment of musculoskeletal disorders. Dr. Steele, thanks so much for being here.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Yeah, my pleasure. So, before we get too deep into things, you seem like you're all about clinical evidence. You're all about these, or clinical excellence and evidence-based medicine. What does that mean to you? And what does that look like for somebody who's a student like me?
You know, it's tough because, especially in school, you're going to get the evidence and evidence-based, what you should be doing and which tests you need to be performing and which questions you need to be asking and what your objective and subjective, all those things you need to look at. And then you get into practice and quickly realize that nobody falls into those buckets. And you have a couple things going on, or you have somebody that presents with one thing and the next person with the same thing and they don't get better. And it's just getting into practice is difficult when it comes to that. And I always thought of myself as an evidence-based provider to provide the best test and the right treatment for the right patient at the right time. And quickly I realized that experience and being more evidence informed tended to guide my practice. And so I try to find a little bit of a happy medium in there where I try to merge evidence-based medicine with evidence-informed medicine, which is practice. So that's my definition of evidence-based is to get all the best possible information, but then to use your experience and your intuition to actually get to the root problem and the right solution.
Yeah, perfect. And I want to dig into those just a little bit more. As students, we're presented with kind of a set of information, but I'm curious, for you in terms of the research that you use to inform your decision making, where do you get a lot of that research? How do you determine what's useful and valuable and what can inform your clinical practice?
You cut out just a little bit there. Can you just ask that question?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. So in terms of utilizing research and being a clinically informed practitioner, how do you synthesize where do you get the research from? And then how do you synthesize that? And then how do you bring that to kind of a personalized patient-centric approach?
It's tough. And in fact, here's how I did it when I was in school, is we had these things called 3-ring binders. And I'd go to the library and you print out all the articles and everything that was new in JMPT and spine and all those articles. And you go to seminars, and I went to MPI, Motion Palpation Institute, by far the smartest people when it comes to evidence-based medicine and learning how to palpate and adjust. And you learn from all those people and you write down everything that you know about every condition, and then you put it into a hard drive and you have all this information that's just sitting there in folders. But then when that patient walks in with tarsal tunnel syndrome, the question is, how do you retrieve that information? And that takes time, it takes energy, and it's tough in practice because, just this morning I did see tarsal tunnel syndrome, and then I saw a thoracic spine compression fracture, and then an inversion ankle sprain. How do you treat all those things quickly, effectively, efficiently is really dependent on how much you can retrieve out of your knowledge bank. So I think as a student is creating a knowledge bank, is to have the ability to go to school and learn everything, go to seminars and learn more about, realistic stuff, and then going to the research and saying, what's applicable. And it takes a lot of time, but on the same token, as you get more and more into your practice, it becomes easier to take that information and to use it practically.
Yeah, and then you get to really leverage that knowledge bank, right? I mean, that I feel like that's the perfect analogy for what school is. It's creating that knowledge bank so that we can, really be successful once we get out into practice. What you mentioned MPI. What do you think students, besides just like grinding down at the research and looking at the research, are there any other recommendations you would make in terms of creating that knowledge bank outside of school?
Yeah, I probably spent as much on outside certifications that I did as my tuition, and you have to pay those things back. But on the same token, go into those high quality seminars from people who have an interest in patient-centered care, because there's a ton of gurus out there. There's a ton of people who are very intelligent, but all have a product to sell or a technique to sell or some kind of sales process. And that's okay, but on the same token, you need to find those people that are truly doing it right and learn from them. And every practice that you see is going to do different stuff. And that doesn't make what I do in practice or what you may do in practice right or wrong, but everybody's going to have a little bit of a different flavor on how they treat something. So my number one recommendation, in fact, I just had a student in here yesterday, is to see docs. Find those people who practice similar to what you're going to do, have a similar mindset. That doesn't mean they have to do the same technique. It just means that they need to be in the same, evidence-based, outcome-centered, patient-centered, model, and learn as much as you can from them. Take their exam forms. Take someone else's rehab programs. Take someone else's, business policies. And then kind of merge that together and see what you're comfortable with. A lot of people are unsuccessful when they get out in in the real world, and I think the reason is because they get put into a system that they're not quite comfortable. And then when somebody comes in my office, I know exactly what I'm going to do. I'm very comfortable with that. Because it's my way of doing things. So making sure you know exactly what you're doing and why you're doing it only comes from experience, and to do that, you have to see working clinics.
Yeah, and can you briefly describe kind of your practice model and the method that you utilize, just so students have kind of a better idea of, what you're doing and kind of what to look for when they do, enter into those shadowing opportunities?
Absolutely. And we have a unique situation where we work with the medical community. So our entire practice is based off medical referrals. My responsibility is to get somebody in and out of pain as fast as possible. In fact, when they are out of pain, my quote to them is, listen, Noah, I like you. I never want to see you again. And so take everything that we learned, take everything that we've done as far as our rehab and the advice and the movement modifications, run with it, and I don't want to ever see this happen again. So our model is 6, maybe 8 visits. They're in and out of pain. They're out of my care, and hopefully I never see them again for the same problem. It turns out that when you do have that kind of a model, that people talk and people say, hey, I saw, this practitioner, he did a good job. And then they interview you or rate you. And they do that through their medical doctor, they do it through their family, and they do it through Google. So when you can start to have a model that does that, more of a in and out pain relief clinic, then that's what you're going to be pigeonholed as, and that's what I like. And now I'm not saying that's the only model to have. People run wellness clinics, people do nutrition. That's perfectly fine. That's just not what we do. And I think that when you can say that, and when you can tell your friends or your medical doctor or Google or whoever it is that this is what we do, then people expect that, and they know exactly what they're going to get when they walk into your office. So that's what I would tell the students is find someone who works in your model, because if someone came into my practice and they were more long-term care, nutrition, they're not going to learn anything from me. It's not that those things aren't important, it's just not what I do. So make sure you find someone that matches up well with you and your long-term goals.
Yeah, that's perfect. And, as your referral-based clinic, and as you're working with a lot of other medical professionals, we just had the vote last night on the healthcare appeal. Are you seeing the landscape of healthcare changing? And do you have any recommendations for students as they get out into this new kind of healthcare landscape, since you're so entrenched in that?
I have a little bit of a unique view on that, is that my partner is the president of the Illinois Chiropractic Society, and I'm the Southern District President. See a couple of the inner workings with that. We also work with several colleges who are moving in a direction, and the direction is outcome-based care. So you can dice it any way you want as far as and what things you do and all the letters behind your name. But healthcare is designed, and the way it's going is toward outcome-based care. So what that means, it doesn't matter how many times you see them or anything that. It matters how much it costs to see you and how fast did you get them out of pain. And the reason it's going to that is because patients are now footing the bill for our services. Whereas in the decades before, you submitted a bill and you got paid for that. That's not going to happen in your lifetime, in my lifetime. Instead, we submit a bill and there's a third-party administrator and they take a percentage and they give us less. Well, now it's going towards more accountable care organizations and different affiliate clinics with hospitals where you have to be seen as a valuable resource to get outcomes. And then if you do that, it doesn't matter if an insurance is paying the bill or it's a cash patient, you're a service that people want to buy. That's the reason chiropractic has been around for so long, is that it works. Is that manipulation is a very powerful tool. And if you could take manipulation combined with a lot of the techniques and the things that we do, you know, as far as chiropractors, and with McKenzie Directional Therapy, you throw in some rehab, you throw in some other resources, nobody can compete with us. And that's where I see the future of healthcare going, is that outcome-based care, independent of the person, the technique, or the letters behind their name.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that is so true. I love this idea of outcome-based care and really getting people better. You know, I feel like that's why I came to school, because of my own personal experience, having injuries and not fully recovering, and seeing and meeting a lot of other people who have to limit their activities because of the, you know, dysfunction that they've experienced in their body and never like fully recovering from that. And so, you know, that to me is the, you know, the silver lining of chiropractic school, and that ability to really provide that kind of care. In the intro, I mentioned briefly that you're a co-founder of KiroUp, and I wonder if you could talk a little bit about what KiroUp is and how it's relevant for students.
Yeah, so KiroUp is the thing that I dreamed about throughout school, and the reason I have all my 3-ring binders and I'm too attached to them to let them go, is that KiroUp is that knowledge bank. Is that now when you go to a seminar or you learn something in radiology, or you learn a new exercise, or you heard about a new way to bend or to lift or to prescribe a nutritional supplement, is that now you can actually store that into a virtual knowledge bank, which is a website essentially. But that website can take that information and it can be reproduced the next time you do see that condition. And the way we do that is we have a board of directors who give us all the information, all the evidence-based stuff. So we scour the literature, we look through all the recent published journals, and then we take all that information and we put it into musculoskeletal conditions. So we have 91 right now. And so next time you see tarsal tunnel syndrome, you can pull up a current literature review of tarsal tunnel syndrome. What is it? How do you diagnose it? What are the most sensitive tests? How do you treat it? When should you refer? What are the radiology considerations? Everything you'd ever want to know about tarsal tunnel syndrome, and that gets continually updated on a monthly basis. But then we take that evidence-based information and we can turn that into a condition report where now that patient comes in, is now you can actually give the patient, here's what it is, here's how we're going to treat it, here are the exercises we're going to do with pictures and videos and descriptions, and this is caused by your running technique, and here's advice on running shoes. So everything you'd ever want to tell your patient is all in there, and it's all information that you put in there. Now we have a foundation, we have everything backfilled with content, but then you can go in and customize it, put in your own exercise, put in your own verbiage, put in your own pictures, and you can really create your own clinic because that's the information you're going to be giving out to your patients once you're out. That same information actually can be used as marketing. So we do this thing called MD Connect, and now once you see a patient with, let's say, tarsal tunnel syndrome, you can email or print out a report that says, hey, I saw Noah, he has tarsal tunnel syndrome, I'm going to see him this many times, I'm going to do these things to him, I expect him this much better, and then instantly, that same day, that same minute, you fax it over there just like everybody else in the medical profession does. Even better though is we measure our results. That once you give that condition report to that patient, 30 days later they're going to get an email from you, and it's going to say, you know, from the office of Dr. Steele, hey Noah, how's that foot? What % better are you? How satisfied are you with their care? And on a 0 to 10 scale, how likely to refer this practitioner to a friend? And we have gathered data on 500 doctors worldwide on what they do and their results. So now I can see worldwide on what different people are doing and the clinical results they're getting, how many visits they were seeing, and what % better they are. At the end of the year, we go back to those providers and say, hey, you're doing a great job at plantar fasciitis. What are you doing differently? And that's where the evidence-informed piece list comes in. So now I can have my condition reference that says, here's what the evidence says that I should be doing. But for this example, Dave Flatt at Northwestern Hospital had the best results with plantar fasciitis. He teaches us a video on what he does differently. And then it's up to you as a student to figure out what do you want to do. And maybe when you get out in clinic, we're going to get your results, and then we can see what exactly you do that's different, and then we can all learn from you.
Oh, that sounds wonderful. I mean, I know being in clinic right now and trying to, you know, pull all of those different pieces together and provide, you know, a really well-rounded care plan for my current student patients. It's a lot of work. And so, I mean, a resource like this sounds really great, because then I can see what's worked for other people. I can see what the evidence says, and I can really, you know, synthesize something that's still unique to me, but also, you know, built on the foundation of all the people who've come before me. So,
excellent.
Yeah, thank you for creating that. I know that people are going to want to learn more about you and your practice and KiroUp. So, you know, where can students reach out to you, learn more, and help to really, you know, guide them towards success?
Well, I think the number one thing is, you know, if anybody's in the area, we do a lot of work through Logan. They're always more than welcome to come to our clinic. We've got a pretty busy clinic, and we can always show people on what we do. We're more than happy to do that at any time. That's Premier Rehab in Swansea, Illinois, you know, right outside of St. Louis. And then as far as KiroUp, students are free. So we developed this product just for our clinic. We didn't develop it for a money-making purpose. It's turned into that. You know, it's turned into more people buying it and subscribing to it. But we're taking all that, we're putting it right back into the product to develop, you know, new and upcoming things for our profession. But students pay nothing for it, neither do faculty. So it's one of those things that you can use for free the entire time throughout your student career. Put in as much things. All we ask for is you know, criticism. We ask for advice. We ask for, if new things are coming up, you continue to let us know. Is that you guys are our test market, and that's why we think it's so important for the students to kind of guide what's happening and then get better outcomes than we do. I just had a guy in here 2 days ago, and he was much smarter than I'm amazed at what kids know now. And I got out 10 years ago. I'm not that old, but just the quality of education and the knowledge was just blew me away. So learning from those people and building a better product is really where I want to see this go. All students go to KiroUp.com. There's a button on top that says for student account. You just sign up, and you get a password and login, and start chugging away.
Brilliant. Thank you for that generosity, and thank you for your commitment to the profession and your commitment to improving outcomes for neuromusculoskeletal conditions. You know, really appreciate everything that you're doing. So this has been a production of DC2B Revolution, helping chiropractic students think big to live large. If you like this video, let us know, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment below, and Dr. Brandon Steele, thanks so much for being here.
Oh, thanks for having me.